This week I made some steps for my dog and cats. Good boy. Hi everyone, welcome back to the City Aperture channel. My name is Jose and I go by City Aperture. This week I'm back with a new project where I wanted to make a piece of furniture for my dog. When I first moved into this house a little bit over 2 years ago, it was the first time I had a backyard and I wanted my dog to really enjoy it. My wife and I both, one of the reasons we picked this house was that he would enjoy the backyard. To do that, I made some steps, very rough steps from lumber I had laying around for the outside. I'll show a picture or a video of that. But on the interior, we always just sort of put a chair up against it, and he would jump up and down. I wanted to make steps for him that would make it easier for him to go up and down. He's a short dog, as you'll see in the video. But I also wanted to be able to store all of his stuff. We buy a lot of stuff for our dog and our cats, and this way I could make both the steps and storage for him. So essentially I made a closet for our dog that he can use to go outside. It's all made out of 2x4s. Very inexpensive. It's just a little time consuming, but I'll show you the process now and then we'll talk about it afterwards. First step was to cut the 2x4s to rough length, which is what I'm doing here. I got 8-foot long 2x4s. So I cut everything down and I marked it so that I would know what piece was what. So I had a cut sheet basically, and here you can see this one's letter H, so everything got a letter. Here I'm basically milling the 2x4s, trying to get the little round ends out of all of the pieces. You can see how many parts there were there. And after I got all the round edges off, I sawed it in half. This is probably not the most safest way of doing this, but I don't have access to a bandsaw. So this is how I had to do it. If you don't feel comfortable doing it this way, you may want to use a bandsaw. Then over to the planer, the planer, to get it to the right thickness. Again, I'm marking everything to keep track. So here the glue up starts. The sides were the biggest glue up, so I had to glue it in parts. Basically, each step got its own glue up. Here you're gonna see after I glued the individual pieces, then I started gluing the steps together. I had made a line where the step begins and ends, or where the step ends, and then that's where the new step begins. And just glue them all up. Here's the side panel. Once everything was glued up, it was off to the table. So again, to trim it to final size. That was one of the side panels. These are sort of the smaller pieces that join the two sides together, and then these are mostly the step and back panels. And then everything got pocket holes. A lot of pocket holes. This is I was using the pocket hole jig from Harbor Freight, and here you see me gluing and putting together the pieces. So these are the horizontal parts that join the two side panels together. There were a lot of them. Once I had enough, I put the two sides together. I put a couple of screws in and I flipped the whole thing over. But you can see here the steps starting to take shape. Once I had enough of them and I was using some corner clamps to hold it together, make sure everything was 90, I just keep adding the in between the basically horizontal parts. Okay, so all of the interior supports that run vertically are in, and now I'm going to start putting in the two supports that run horizontally across the bottom, and we are almost done with all the supports. Then we just got to do bottoms of the storage areas, and it's time to paint. So here I'm using the router to put a bevel onto the step parts, then sanding everything. I used 3 grids
from 80 to 120 to 220. I might have gone to 320. I don't remember now. One sanded, I just got some paint. Got a great paint, and honestly, this is the cheapest paint that they had at the store. It's at Home Depot. Because it's, I think I'll probably repaint this at some point once it gets enough scuff marks and whatnot, so I didn't spend a lot of money on paint. But it's a gray I like. And this is my favorite wood stain, also from the Home Depot. It's just a nice dark stain that'll give a good contrast to the gray of the steps, of the sides themselves. And then I used a little bit of polyurethane. It's just brush on. It's just for protection. The dog's going to be stepping on this with his nails and so with the cats. So a little bit of a harder resistant finish. Finally, well, not finally, but I started adding a couple of tabs basically on the steps so that they can be held in by friction. You'll see this once we finish the project. Here I'm starting to add some of the back panels. I just screwed on as if they were going to be drawers, but this one in particular is one of the storage areas that has a plywood bottom. Here are hinges for the back area that has a door. They're tiny hinges, so I'm first marking and then drilling, or pre-drilling, where the screws go. I used the tiniest drill bit I had. And then here by hand screwing in the hinges. Again, their screws are so small for these hinges that I had to do it by hand. Didn't have a screw, the driver that would be small enough. Here it is again, basically using those screwdrivers that you use to fix glasses. So this attaches the door now to the steps. And the last thing was to put a latch. It's just a magnetic latch I got at the store. I think it cost like 78 cents, the least expensive latch I could find. And here we see how it works. Just one of those push magnetic latches. There it is, locked. Now let's test it out. Come on, baby. Alright, so the bottom step doesn't move, that's still. The next steps though, both come off. They're held in place sort of by friction. But there you go, there's some of his toys. His storage there. Right. All of them have storage in them. Right. The top one has mostly the cat stuff. Right. But here's the really cool thing about it is that if we pull back the steps, the door here, magnetically latched, and then there's a bit of a closet. This is where all his clothing is, and some of the deeper storage. There we go. There you go, guys. That's how I made some dog steps and storage out of just 2x4s. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I've been thinking about how I'm going to do that for a while, so it's nice to finally finish his steps for him. He's enjoying them, and all of his stuff fits in there. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like the channel, subscribe, all of that stuff, and I'll see you guys next week with another project. If you guys like this project, then maybe you'll enjoy the podcast that I do with my two colleagues, Claudia and Ray. We discuss purpose-driven design, making, and manufacturing. We talk about architecture. We talk about all sorts of making. We have a project of the week. So yeah, please check it out. Again, it's called The Made Podcast. Thanks so much.